everyone, welcome to Bada Boom. Today we have a special guest, my friend Christine, coming at us from Las Vegas. Christine and I recently saw Sonic 3, and Christine, I'm excited to hear what your thoughts were on it because you did 1, 2, and 3 in like a 48-hour time span. So you have a very fresh set of eyes on the Sonic trilogy that we have so far. So on the third movie, the last one that you saw, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm okay shotgunning Sonics 1, 2, and 3 mentally. It's like a bookmark for my therapist later. But um, I feel like because when we watched it with one of my other friends, and he was like saying how like usually he likes to watch them beforehand, but he kind of like waited for the year apart since the release, and it's just like not as connected. Whereas I was like one night Sonic 1, the morning Sonic 2, and then the afternoon Sonic 3. And I was like, the emotional roller coaster ride of like watching it beginning to end, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna cry. This third one, I might cry. Because here's the thing, I didn't have a lot of Sonic knowledge. It's just I like the new things. I liked Ugly Sonic and I also love Ben Schwartz, so I was like, I gotta watch these. But like by the third movie, I was like crying. I was like, oh, friendship, the power of friendship truly prevails. And I like cried at that. It was disgusting, but I loved it.
It's ironic for me to think like it was the power of friendship that prevailed because like spoilers if you haven't seen Sonic 3, but the entire part of the movie, except for maybe like the last 15, 20 minutes, is Sonic not believing that he needs a team or like just being so arrogant he doesn't need a team. And then but that's not even the main lesson that they try and highlight. Like there's very big foreshadowing in the very beginning of like the pain that you go through life. You can choose how that affects you and affects your actions. I'm like, that's a really good message. But then at the end, they're also like, yeah, don't be so selfish. Be a part of this team, which is like a good lesson too, a great
Oh,
lesson too. But I was like, that's not the lesson you guys were foreshadowing. I know you guys kind of snuck that in there, but it was still a great movie. I saw the first one right before everything shut down for the
oh my
pen.
God.
Yeah, that's when it came out. The
Emotional.
first one came out in 2020, and that was the highest grossing superhero movie of the year because everything got shut down. And
Yeah.
yeah, second one I thought was great too. This one was like the second one I thought there was a decent amount of fan service, but this one it was
Yeah.
really balanced between fan service and story and like overall it had the least amount of human interactions I think in it apart from like
Yeah. It was mostly the guys.
yeah, which I was like that's what we want, when people are like I want an all Transformers no humans movie. This is like the closest we got to an all Sonic no
Yeah.
humans movie, which it was so balanced, but overall I was like I really enjoyed seeing Sonic on the screen interact with humans a lot more than I did the previous movies.
Yeah. And I also, this was another thing. It was so stupid because there's like this weird continuity that I'm like trying to like connect. And I think because I did it all in one, I was hoping that would happen. But like the beginning of Sonic 1, he's like spying on the Wachowskis and they're watching Speed and he's like, I love Keanu. And at the third one, I was hoping he'd be like, you sound familiar. Like I was hoping for something like that, just because it fits the humor. But like, alas, it was lost in like the power of friendship and breathed in a healthy manner. Like I was like, oh, you could have squeezed a little Keanu moment, but I mean, I think that's kind of that was a little pipe dream of mine. But emotionally, I like it got me. I think it's because like he's alone, has a family. He's alone, friendship, even though like they were butting heads. And the third one's just like, we're together. It may not be perfect, but we're together. Like I cried so hard.
And I think that's one of the things that makes these movies like really successful is because you go into watching it and you're like, this is just going to be fun. This is like a part of my childhood. But then it really gets like some tear jerking like moments for you. Like when
Yeah.
Sonic's about to knock the shit out of Shadow and he's like, do it, do it. It's like, here's the moment, here's the lesson. And even like in the very beginning where he's like talking about Long Claw, and I'm like, yo, that was the first movie, and I barely remember that scene, but you can totally hear the emotion in Ben Schwartz's voice as like this is a real thing for Sonic and a real thing for, him as maybe an actor. Maybe he's remembering someone that he lost. And it can be a very emotional movie at times.
I will tell you though, like, if we're gonna get real, like I told you how I lost my mom during the summer, and like, I don't know what happened between then and now, but like the dead parental moment keeps happening in movies and shows, and I'm like, hey, I need a break. And of course, Longclaw was a female voice, and they're like, you have to mourn like properly, you have to like, and it's just like, please stop. I'm trying to watch Sonic 3. I'm trying to see what the edgelords have been raving about and you're gonna make me cry? No. I was here to watch edgy Sonic, and I cried instead.
Yeah, but man, that's a tough moment
I know.
to have in the
I
movie.
so
When
yeah.
I, when I, when I, when
I'm
I
so
saw the
sorry.
movie, I don't know how many people in the theater when you saw the movie, but I saw it on Thursday, and there was me and four frat dudes all in the same
Ugh.
row, and like they were super cool. They were like, "Man, I love Sonic. I watched it all the time when I was a kid, and I can't wait to see what it's like on the big screen." I'm like, these guys are like 25. I'm 30, and we're watching a kids movie on a Friday night, and it's like the best thing for happening to us. And then this little girl who's like 5 years old walks in with her dad and is like, I
Aw.
can't wait to see Sonic. And we're like, respect. She knows what's up. So this is like a movie where like it touches so many people and it's like such a big audience can like come and enjoy because Sonic's just been around forever, it feels like.
I think that's where the success of like video, like movies based on video games, and that's why kind of like I think the only thing that's gonna break the mold is Minecraft. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, um, Sonic, because it's been a nostalgic game to like something that has never really aged, you have a fan base that isn't just like the original kids that like loved it. They're the parents of the children that are like obsessed with it and they're buying the merch continuously. I think that's why Sonic, any of those movies was successful. I think that's why Super Mario Brothers was crazy successful. And I know this isn't a video game-esque, but they had enough video games made. But TMNT Mutant Mayhem, it's like the same
Yeah.
amount of like families who are kids who love these things and then their kids loved it and they're fostering it like when Star Wars parents do it right it's them smiling at Disneyland. If they're doing it wrong they're screaming and being dragged by their parents for a photo op. Like the vibe is so nice because it's like the kids could tell their parents something they found on the internet that they didn't know about and that's one of those magical moments where you're like you got your kids hooked, congratulations, you're parenting correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into TMNT through the movies or through the comic books. I got into them from the video games, and then
Exactly.
got into more and more stuff. I got into Sonic from the video games, and then I got addicted to Sonic comics when I was a kid. And like, I'm like a person at work that knows a lot of the Sonic lore, and people are like, "What did you think about this movie?" Which fun Easter egg that I it's not an Easter egg, it's a rumor, and it is backed up from what you see in the movies. So
Mm,
if you look at the color the the shirt, I think the character's name is Maddie. It's don't like the Donut Lord's wife. Like
okay.
Sonic's like adopted mom, kind of.
Okay.
If you look
Yeah.
at her shirt, the color of her shirt in the first movie, she always wears a yellow shirt, and then Tails was in the post credit for the first movie. In the
Oh
second
my God.
movie, she wore a red and black shirt, like a red shirt, black jacket, and then Shadow's tees. And then in this one, she wears a pink sweater for the majority of her scenes. And if you've seen the movie and you stay for the post-credit scene, you know that Amy the Hedgehog is coming into the next movie. And we'll have
Oh
to see
God.
what color of shirt she has in that one. Maybe it's a multicolor one and like the detective gang with like the crocodile and the bee and I think
Hmm.
what is he a chameleon? I can't remember what he is.
I only know what these creatures look like. I don't know their names. I've only seen them because of like all the random covers of like Sonic the Hedgehog that IDW posts.
Yeah, but maybe she'll have like a multicolor shirt and it'll be for them. But we know Amy's going
Oh
to be in the
God.
next one. I hope they have Rouge the bat
Rouge. Oh my God. But like,
and
are they gonna like? tone it down. Like it's still a kids movie.
I mean, let's talk about toning some stuff down real quick because if you've played the video games or seen the memes, you know that Shadow has a love for Latinas, and they have
Mhm.
him watching a soap opera. And I'm like, he's gonna drop the line. He's gonna like, there's gonna be some sort of development, but this is a great reference. And maybe in the next movie or his next appearance, they'll like catch him in Mexico or something like that, and he can have the line that like has been that's almost like a Rick roll to me in some parts. Like just Shadow shows up and he's
Yeah,
like
it's such a
Latinos.
tease.
Yeah. Which, by the way, for your Keanu reference, Keanu Reeves himself said there's enough character for Shadow to be separate from himself, so he won't sound so much like Keanu Reeves. So
I don't know. He sounded pretty Keanu Reeves. It's like when Christopher Walken played that one guy in the second Dune movie. I was like, you didn't get hired to be you.
well, you say that, but then I saw a clip of someone redoing John Wick, but just having Shadow be like edited in instead of John Wick's body. And I was like,
Okay.
that sounds exactly like Shadow. That doesn't sound like John Wick at all. And he's playing John Wick's just being Keanu Reeves. So I'm like, even though Keanu Reeves said in an interview that he's separated the identities enough and it's like changed his voice enough for the role that it doesn't sound like Keanu Reeves or the Keanu Reeves that Sonic would know. I'm like, I still hear it. So maybe they'll drop the reference later on. But the fourth one is going to be crazy. I because like what? How did all these Sonic robots get here? Is Eggman like still out there? Is like what's going on?
God, I really was hoping that like his like what's her name? Maria was like somehow still alive, but they made it very like apparent that she wasn't
Yeah.
alive. I was just like hoping that like oh, well, because like you know how I didn't get to watch the second post credit because I had to pee so bad. But like Shadow's like, well, I mean, come on, I was holding it in. I was very emotionally like
That's yeah,
connected. I
yeah.
couldn't leave. So like, I mean, we looked it up and Shadow's like not dead, and I was just like, okay, but like, who else could not be dead? And I'm hoping that like somehow she's like still alive barely, and like she's the one who's like jilted with the mech Sonics. I don't know the proper name for them.
Oh, the Sonic, the Robo Sonics.
Yeah,
I don't know because like I think it's still gonna be Eggman, but the thing that is,
yeah,
Jim Carrey came out of retirement to play this role,
I
and
know.
and it's a
Crazy.
fun role for him. I like he seems to enjoy it a lot. So
Mhm.
at some point in time, though, I feel like he's gonna say, "Hey guys, I'm done with this role." Like, because
Yeah.
they greenlit the fourth movie like that, or the news that it was greenlit was like within like
Mhm.
3 days of this movie coming out. They're like, by the way, there's already gonna be a fourth, and it's gonna come out in
Ugh.
like 2026.
They're gonna get minioned. They're super gonna get minioned if they don't like, when it was just Despicable Me, and then the minions got so popular that they just kept like vomiting Despicable Me's after that, and then anything minion related, they're gonna minion the heck out of Sonic. And I'm just like, I'm
Well,
praying.
I don't think that's gonna happen because they've done a really good job of doing extra material, but
Mhm.
have it kind of be separate from the movie franchise. Like they did a Knuckles TV show, which I didn't
Oh
see,
yeah.
but I
I
heard it.
didn't either.
Yeah, I heard it was just like a fun show. And so if
Yeah.
they're like, hey, we have like these side quests we could put in a movie, or we could do like a 4 or 5 episode TV show, which Idris Elba has already said we need to have a Sonic and Knuckle TV show. So
Hmm.
maybe there'll be something there. I don't know.
Keep Ben Schwartz employed.
Hey, Ben Schwartz, you and I have already established this. Ben Schwartz is a
Uh,
national treasure, and I don't know what he's doing to his voice to make it sound like Sonic, but it's getting to the point now where I hear Sonic and just his everyday casual voice, but I know he's got to be like speaking higher or like super fast, or there's maybe like an effect on his voice. But I
yeah.
want someone to hear him talking someday, just like casually, and be like, "Is that Sonic?" Because he's gonna get known for this role. Like I think the majority of people
He
that
has to
haven't,
be.
yeah, the majority of people that have never seen him from Parks and Rec or kids that are like, what's Parks and Rec? I'm 5, I'm watching Sonic. He's gonna be their like Iron Man almost. Like it's not
Oh,
as
the way he
serious as a
repeats. Yeah.
universe, but like when they think of someone that's famous and popular and like Ben Schwartz, he's Sonic.
That's so funny because in the second one, what's his character's name in Parks and Rec? Ralph Macchio? He
John
goes,
Ralphio.
it's the worst. And I was like, oh my God, I recognize that. I was like, he did it once. He only had to do it once. And I'm like, I'm staying on for the full saga of this like movie like situation. Just bring me home. You got me in with that. Let's go.
The more references they just bring to like Parks and Rec and things like that, like his other characters, I'm definitely just gonna be like, okay. And that's what I really did for the first one. I was like, what Easter eggs has he dropped in for this? And
Yeah.
the worst one was a really good one. I'm waiting for maybe the next one when they've got to sneak into a base. And they could have done it in this one, and he could have done like the don't be suspicious dance.
Oh
But
God. That would be peak. Just like a little because technically that was like the most Parks and Rec that I felt out of all three of the movies. Maybe they're just like, we'll skip it in three because we have a lot of emotional time, and then maybe we can get a little goofy in number four. I don't know, maybe.
well, maybe he'll do it with Amy in 4, and Knuckles will be like, "Listen, Hedgehog, we've got to get this mission done."
Oh my God. It would be better if Amy was Jenny Slate, like hands down.
Oh, I don't know because she
Yeah.
doesn't say any lines in the third one, does she?
I don't I don't know. I didn't all I saw was like her hammer and then her hood and you're like, oh shit, bitch. And then I didn't hear a voice.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
if it's Jenny Slate, they have to.
They have to. Also, the amount of this is a comic book podcast, so we have to talk about all the DC references that happened in this movie, whether they were legitimate DC references or not. But the three I can think of that they probably were like, yeah, we know we're doing those. Obviously, they made a Green Lantern reference to like the
Yeah, that
mech
one.
hand, and like I
Mhm.
hate watched that in 2011, and I'm like, we all did.
That was a visceral description of watching that movie too. And I was like, well, that got me. Like after the crying, I was like, oh, okay. The read was a
Yeah,
little too hard.
you heard of it? Well,
Yeah, you're like, ugh.
and then when they're on the moon and they're like looking back on Earth, I'm like, I don't know if they knew this, but this seems like a really good reference to Crypto and Superman in that latest poster.
Oh, oh God, I just saw the trailer for that too. And I'm just like, oh, I'm only watching it for the dog.
And let's see the
Just the
last.
dog.
Yeah, I mean, Crypto stole the show in that trailer. He's like, "Take me home." So,
Cute. It's
oh,
cute.
and the dog in the movie was also. I don't remember what the dog's name is, but like the dog when he's like, "Give me love," like the subtitles for transferring for the barks of the dog in Sonic 3.
No.
You don't
Is
remember
that
that? So like,
oh wait. He's like the one where he's like, you took my humans or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's him? They're the same dog?
No, they're not the same dog.
Oh my God, I was
That
gonna
would
like
be a great
lose
Easter egg.
it.
That'd be like, wow, we really connected these universes if it is, but just the dog. And they're like, hey, we're gonna throw these little dog stuff in there. I was like, that's some fun writing. No, but
Yeah.
the third one I saw that I was like, I don't know if this really is an Easter egg, but I feel like it's a good reference, or maybe it's just you know some similarities. It's kind of just how
Mhm.
Amy was using the hammer felt very Harley Quinn like.
I mean, any female with a hammer. Any female with a hammer. Doesn't matter. It'll always give Harley Quinn because she kind of like, I mean, Harley Quinn in general. You got the emo girls already on that. But then when Margot Robbie was it, like that was just any woman during Halloween at that point. So
Yeah.
it's just like the holding of it is just so iconic now. It's like if it wasn't Harley, then I don't know who it was.
Well, and I think what really made me think that it was a DC reference is like in the comics and the video game, Amy has the hammer like down at her feet and she's holding the handle, but the head of the
All
hammer's
cutesy.
the head of the hammer's down on the ground.
Hmm.
And she's got like oh cutesy like and she's got her foot on it. She's not like, haha,
Hmm.
I'm gonna smash some people. So like the way she held it made it feel a bit more um like a Harley Quinn reference. I didn't catch other
Yeah.
references, but I feel like those are the three that, like, as I was watching and keeping track, I was like, oh, really easy to make some DC digs or references here. really leaving Marvel out of the mix here on this one.
Honestly though, like what was it? Parker was just telling me how like Disney's interested in buying Sega because Moana 2 is not doing as good as Sonic 3. And I was like, you should fire your PR team because I saw nothing about Moana 2 and that thing was supposed to be a show and you should have just stuck to your guns with that because you weren't gonna beat Sonic 3, not when the Edge Lords are after Shadow. Like there are no Edge Lord adjacent things in Moana 2, so you should have just known. So like
Yeah.
I think if that was a nod to like staying away from Marvel, Disney is absolutely taking the bait because I mean look at the box office. I mean I was gonna watch it once it got on like streaming because it should have been a show.
Yeah. Well, and like, on a side note, that I think is like the biggest problem for Disney is the fact that they have Disney Plus, and sometimes things just go straight there. People are like, I won't watch in the movie. I know it's just going to be there anyway. So,
Yeah.
but back to Sonic though.
So,
One thing that I'm like, how are they going to solve this? And maybe you have a hint or an idea with some fresh perspective. Is that
mhm.
all of our Sonic characters, and then it could just be the way they want them to interact in the universe. But they all have this lightning. They all have this power that like is behind them when they run. And I'm like, that's not how it goes in the comic books. It doesn't work that way in the TV shows either. It's just in this movies that they have it like that. So because like when Amy's throwing the hammer, it's like pink electricity and stuff like that. I'm like, she doesn't have any chaos control or any emeralds. Like she can't interact with the emeralds in
She's
any
just
way.
a girl.
She's just a girl.
Why does she get lightning?
Well, why okay, that sounds really sexist. But in the comics, yes,
Oh.
Knuckles and Tails both have the ability to interface with the emeralds. Like Knuckles is the Emerald Guardian. Tails,
Mhm,
this version of Tails is like the mega epic version of Tails, like merges with 3,000 other versions of Tails to save the
mm,
world. So like maybe Amy has a story where, it's plausible that she's like, yeah, I do have this power, bitch. But we just haven't I haven't read it yet, maybe. There are some really thick, they're like this thick uh
ugh.
IDW books that you can buy. I saw them at
Oh,
Barnes and
Sonic.
Noble. Yeah, yeah, the books are. But there's
The
like,
omnibus.
well, there's 8 of them.
Ew. I'm sorry. That's just too much lore. Who has time
Well,
for that much
but
lore?
and here's the thing. And well, I'll say this kind of like as we're wrapping up. There's
Mm,
so much lore for Sonic because the comic has been going since like 1991, 1992. And for some of the comic, it's a continuous series from beginning to like end. And
mhm,
at one point in time in the comic, Sonic travels back in time, and then they like split the comic books into what's currently happening when he comes back to the present, and then there's like
mhm.
this future, but you don't know if the future is the current future or the alternate reality future if Sonic made an alternate
Yeah.
reality by traveling back in time. And so
Mm,
you're always just like split between, are these the same story or not, because the future story is
mhm.
really good. And in one of the storylines, Sonic does not get with Amy, he gets with a different character.
Oh
And
my gosh, multiverse.
yeah, and so like the comics are really good, even though they are very
Yeah.
childish at times, but there are some good there are some adult themes and stuff in there. So if you want to read them, definitely check them out because you can get them at Barnes and Noble and on Amazon. Pretty much almost all the books that I think I ever read as a kid for Sonic that's in this continuum. Also, Sonic dies like 3 different times. Knuckles
Ugh.
dies like 2 different times. So like there's some like heavy stuff in there. And like talk about like Knuckles' dead mom telling him that like she believes in him and like he's doing a good job of being the guardian of the Master Emerald. Like there's some heavy stuff in those books. So if you're reading them as a kid,
Oh,
you may have glossed over them. But if you really got invested from watching Sonic either on your own or with your kids, it's
mhm.
definitely worth picking some of them up and kind of like reliving pieces of your childhood or having something that your kids can go back and like read after they've played, the video games, which we also need to get Mike Schwartz or not Mike Schwartz, Ben Schwartz as Sonic's voice in a video game at some point in time since he's just done
Literally.
so good in the movies.
I will say one thing before it ends, though. I think what they're trying to do, and I think they're doing it really well, is like they're kind of taking Sonic and kind of doing a Bluey where it's fun, it's playful, it's recognizable, but there are like things as a kid they don't want you as a kid to gloss over because it's integral to like life. Because you know how like they make that joke of like, I wish they taught me taxes in high school because now as an adult I'm like struggling. Like I feel like they're trying to mitigate the emotional like downfall of like not teaching them younger, and it's just kind of like it works with the characters too. So I feel like they're finding a way to not only like make it interesting for adults, but having kids who love these characters understand like, oh, they go through painful things too, and maybe this will be something like core when something bad happens in the future. You know, I just think that they're doing a really good job, like Mutant Mayhem, of like keeping the families like interested together, but having a theme that they can kind of like, even young, you can kind of recognize, oh, this is sad, and as a
Yeah.
kid, it's like sad is okay. And I know too many adults who watch Bluey, so I feel like Sonic is doing a really good job of that, other than like blatantly doing it like Bluey. They're doing it kind of like underhanding, like, oh, you have a heart, audience, we found it. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
I think they're doing a good job of that. And they're like we kind of said, it's a really good balance between fun, some sort of lesson, fan service, and there's always something to look forward to in the future. Like when it was just the first Sonic, I'm like, this is gonna be it. We gotta like watch this 30 times in the theater if we want more. And
Yeah.
they really kicked off like the success, I would think, of the video game franchise, because people tried in the past, and now we've got Super Mario Brothers, we've got Secret Level, we've got 3 Sonic movies now. So of
And
course one,
Minecraft just coming up.
yeah, that's a different podcast episode. I don't have good thoughts about that
Are
movie.
we gonna talk shit?
Maybe in the future, but for now, thank you for giving us Sonic 3. Thank you, Ben Schwartz. Thank you, Idris Elba, and thank you, Keanu Reeves. And I'm sorry I can't remember the voice actor who does Tails, but you're great. I love you. Please keep being
It's like
Tails.
something Shaughnessy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
please get more interviews so we can see your lovely face and get some good interactions between you and the rest of the crew. But thank you so much. And with that, bada boom.
Bada boom.
Thank you for listening to the Bob Boom Podcast. Keep the conversation going with Chris and I on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can find us on all these places at Bada Boom Podcast. Get into the comments on our YouTube channel. Let us know what you like about the show or what you'd like to hear from us in the future. Until next time, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Thanks for listening.